The bold and the beautiful has always treated trauma not as a single explosive moment, but as a shadow that lingers, stretches, and returns when least expected. Some wounds never truly close, they simply scar over, waiting for the right trigger to tear them open again. That truth becomes devastatingly clear when Luna Nozawa re-enters Los Angeles under the carefully constructed disguise of Dylan. Her return is not announced with violence or spectacle at first, but with presence alone, and for Liam Spencer, that presence is enough to collapse the fragile sense of safety he has spent years trying to rebuild. Liam's trauma does not awaken gradually. It detonates inside him the moment he recognizes something familiar in Dylan's eyes, her voice, the way she occupies space, as if the world owes her nothing and she owes it even less. His body reacts before his mind allows him to understand why. His chest tightens, his breath shortens, and the past surges forward with brutal clarity. The shooting, the attack, the helplessness of realizing that his life could end at the hands of someone whose obsession had already crossed every moral boundary, all of it returns, uninvited and unstoppable. What terrifies Liam most is not the memory itself, but how completely it overwhelms the present. He is no longer a man standing in his living room, or walking through the city. He is once again a victim trapped in a moment he thought he survived. As Luna settles into her Dylan persona, Liam begins to unravel in ways that are impossible to hide forever. Panic attacks strike without warning, leaving him disoriented and shaking. Sleep becomes a battlefield. Night after night, he wakes drenched in sweat, gasping for air, his heart racing as if the danger is still unfolding. In his dreams, the past is never static. Sometimes he is running and cannot move fast enough. Sometimes he is frozen, watching himself bleed while Luna's presence looms just out of reach. The nightmares do not merely replay history, they distort it, magnify it, punish him with variations of the same terror. Each morning, he wakes exhausted, carrying the weight of battles fought entirely within his own mind. The toll this takes on his marriage to Hope Logan is immediate and profound. Hope notices the change long before Liam finds the words, or the courage, to explain it. He becomes distant, irritable, emotionally guarded in ways that feel foreign to the man she knows. Conversations end abruptly. Touch becomes tense instead of comforting. Where there was once openness, there is now silence. Hope senses that something is deeply wrong, not just stress or fatigue, but fear. A specific kind of fear that does not dissipate with reassurance. The more she tries to reach him, the more he retreats, as if closeness itself has become dangerous. Liam's resistance is not born of mistrust in Hope, but of shame and self-preservation. He fears that admitting how deeply Luna's return has destabilized him will make him appear weak, broken, incapable of protecting the family he loves. There is a part of him that believes he should be past this, that surviving once should have granted him immunity. Instead, he feels exposed, reduced to the same vulnerability that Luna once exploited. By pushing Hope away, he convinces himself he is protecting her from the darkness clawing its way back into his life. What he does not realize is that this silence hurts her just as deeply. Hope's instincts refuse to let the matter rest. She has lived too long in a world shaped by secrets to ignore the signs in front of her. The distance in Liam's eyes, the way his body stiffens when Dylan's name is mentioned, the abrupt mood shifts that seem tied to her presence, all of it forms a pattern Hope cannot dismiss. When she asks direct questions, Liam deflects or shuts down entirely. His refusal to explain only heightens her concern. Hope begins to fear that whatever Liam is facing is something he believes he must confront alone, and that belief terrifies her more than any truth could. Gradually, cracks form in Liam's defenses. He does not offer a full confession at once. Instead, fragments slip out in moments of exhaustion or emotional overload. He speaks of fear without naming its source, of memories he cannot control, of a sense that danger has returned even though logic insists otherwise. When he finally admits that Dylan frightens him, the admission lands like a shockwave. Hope has never known Liam to be irrationally afraid. His fear is specific, visceral, and deeply personal. It ignites her own alarm. Why would a woman who appears harmless on the surface inspire this level of terror in a man who has survived so much? That question becomes the turning point. Hope's concern transforms into determination. If Liam cannot face this threat directly, she will. Her investigation does not begin with confrontation, but with observation. She watches Dylan closely, noting inconsistencies in her stories, moments when her composure slips, flashes of intensity that feel disproportionate to the situation at hand. Hope's experience navigating deception has sharpened her perception. She recognizes the signs of someone performing a role rather than living authentically. The more she looks, the clearer it becomes that Dylan is not who she claims to be. Hope's search for answers leads her into records that are not meant to be revisited, names that were supposed to remain buried. Piece by piece, the truth assembles itself with chilling inevitability. Dylan's past does not simply overlap with Luna Nozawa's, it is Luna Nozawa's. The realization hits Hope with a mixture of rage and dread. This is not a coincidence. Luna has not wandered back into Liam's life by accident. Her return is deliberate, calculated, and dangerous. The woman who once shattered Liam's sense of safety has reinvented herself to get close again, cloaked in a new identity that allows her to move undetected. The confrontation Hope initiates is charged with restrained fury. She does not scream or threaten. Instead, she forces Luna to confront the truth she has been hiding behind. Faced with evidence she can no longer dismiss, Luna's mask finally fractures. Her admission is not remorseful in the way Hope might expect. It is layered with justification, obsession, and a warped sense of destiny. Luna does not see herself as a villain. She frames her return as unfinished business, as a connection that was never properly resolved. In her mind, the trauma she inflicted on Liam is not a crime to repent, but a bond that forever ties them together. For Hope, this revelation is nauseating. She understands now why Liam's fear feels so absolute. Luna is not simply a reminder of the past, she is the past refusing to stay buried. Hope's anger is fueled not only by what Luna has done, but by the realization that Liam has been reliving his trauma alone while Luna moved freely within his orbit. Hope makes it clear that Luna's presence is not only unwelcome but intolerable. She draws a line not out of vengeance, but out of protection. Liam's eventual confrontation with Luna is the most difficult step of all. Facing her means reopening wounds he has spent years trying to manage. It means allowing himself to feel the terror he has suppressed, to acknowledge that survival did not equate to healing. The encounter strips him of pretense. His fear is visible, his voice unsteady, his strength no longer measured by stoicism, but by endurance. Luna's attempts to rationalize her actions crumble under the weight of his pain. For the first time, Liam speaks openly about what she did to him, not as a distant memory, but as a living wound. This confrontation does not offer immediate closure. Healing is not a single moment of triumph, but a slow, uneven process marked by setbacks and exhaustion. Liam's journey forward is painful, requiring him to relive memories he would rather forget, to accept help when his instinct is to withdraw, and to confront the reality that trauma does not disappear simply because one wishes it gone. The process challenges his identity, forcing him to redefine strength not as control, but as vulnerability. Hope becomes the anchor Liam desperately needs. Her commitment to him is not abstract or symbolic, it is active and unwavering. She listens when he struggles to speak. She stands firm when fear resurfaces. She does not demand that he heal on her timeline, nor does she minimize the depth of his pain. Instead, she creates space for it, understanding that stability is rebuilt through patience rather than pressure. Their relationship, strained by silence and fear, begins to transform. It is no longer defined by the illusion of perfection, but by honesty forged in crisis. In supporting Liam, Hope also confronts her own emotional reckoning. She must grapple with the anger she feels toward Luna, the guilt of not recognizing the signs sooner, and the fear that this trauma could resurface again. Yet she refuses to allow those fears to dictate their future. She chooses resilience, not denial. Together, she and Liam begin to rebuild trust, not just in each other, but in the possibility that their lives are not forever dictated by past violence. Luna's exposure marks the end of her disguise, but not the immediate end of her impact. Trauma does not vanish when its source is removed. It lingers, reshaping perceptions and challenging assumptions. Yet for the first time since her return, Luna no longer controls the narrative. The power she once held through fear and secrecy dissipates under the weight of truth. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, this storyline transcends scandal and shock. It becomes a meditation on survival, on the cost of silence, and on the courage it takes to face pain rather than flee from it. Liam's healing is not portrayed as heroic or neat, but as raw and ongoing. Hope's love is not idealized as a cure, but honored as support. Together, they redefine what it means to move forward, not by forgetting the past, but by refusing to let it define the future. The bold and the beautiful has always understood that the cruelest twists are not born from betrayal or obsession alone, but from time itself, the quiet, unstoppable force that renders love helpless no matter how fiercely it is defended. After Luna's unmasking and the long, harrowing process of confronting buried trauma, Hope Logan believes she and Liam Spencer have finally reached the far edge of their suffering. They have faced the monster together. They have named the fear. They have chosen honesty over silence. What neither of them is prepared for is the truth that arrives next, stripped of drama and spectacle, delivered not by an enemy but by medicine. Liam is dying. The damage inflicted long ago, compounded by stress, suppressed trauma, and physical injury that never fully healed, has progressed beyond treatment. The timeline is not measured in decades, or even years, but in a narrowing window that transforms every ordinary moment into something unbearably fragile. For Hope, this revelation fractures reality in a way no accusation or scandal ever could. She has endured public humiliation, moral attacks, power struggles, and emotional warfare, yet nothing compares to the stillness that follows the words she never imagined hearing. Terminal. End stage. No further options. These phrases do not explode, they hollow her out. Hope does not scream or collapse. Instead, she becomes eerily calm, as if her mind refuses to absorb what her heart already understands. The man whose life has been intertwined with hers for so long, whose presence defined stability and chaos in equal measure, is no longer part of an open future. He is now a finite truth. Liam, by contrast, absorbs the diagnosis with a grim clarity that frightens Hope even more than denial would have. He has lived with fear long enough to recognize when it has changed form. This is no longer panic or trauma-induced dread, this is certainty. In the quiet moments after the diagnosis, Liam does not speak about anger or injustice. He speaks about logistics. About time. About what must be done before there is no time left. His calm is not acceptance born of peace, but control reclaimed in the only way still available to him. If he cannot save his life, he will at least shape the aftermath. As the days pass, Hope dedicates herself entirely to Liam. She becomes his constant, his anchor, his witness. She memorizes the rhythm of his good days and his bad ones, learns which silences mean exhaustion and which mean fear. Their home transforms into a space suspended between life and loss, where laughter feels both sacred and unbearable, because it proves that joy still exists even as it slips away. Hope tells herself that loving Liam now means choosing him every day without question, without hesitation, without allowing the future to intrude. Yet the future refuses to stay away. It is Liam who introduces the unthinkable question first, not as a demand, but as a quiet insistence born of love rather than despair. He watches Hope closely, too closely, and recognizes the slow erosion she tries to hide. The sleepless nights. The forced optimism. The way she flinches when plans are mentioned beyond the next few months. Liam understands something Hope does not yet allow herself to articulate, that loving a dying man is not only about devotion, but about sacrifice, so deep it can consume the living. And Liam refuses to let Hope disappear with him. He does not frame it as abandonment or replacement. He frames it as survival. He asks whether love must end when life does, or whether love can transform into something that allows Hope to keep breathing after he is gone. The idea that Hope might someday love again does not wound him, the idea that she might not terrifies him. Liam has always struggled with his own sense of worth, and now, facing the end, that struggle sharpens. He cannot bear the thought that his death will become the axis around which Hope's entire future collapses. Hope's internal conflict becomes the most painful battle she has ever fought. Loyalty tells her that even contemplating another love is betrayal. Identity tells her that she is Liam's wife, his partner, his safe place until the very end. But another voice, quieter, guilt-ridden, almost shameful, whispers that she is still alive. That she still has years ahead of her. That wanting warmth, connection, and companionship in a future without Liam does not erase what they have been. Hope hates herself for hearing that voice at all. She wonders whether even considering a life beyond Liam diminishes the depth of her love for him. The tension between presence and future begins to strain them in subtle ways. Liam notices when Hope pulls away emotionally, not because she loves him less, but because she is already grieving him while he is still breathing. Hope notices when Liam encourages distance, when he gently redirects conversations toward practical matters instead of memories. They are both trying to protect each other, and in doing so, they risk creating a loneliness more devastating than loss itself. Love becomes a negotiation with time, each moment weighed against the knowledge that it cannot last. Outside voices complicate the question even further. Friends and family, well-meaning and fearful, project their own beliefs onto Hope. Some speak of devotion until the last breath, romanticizing sacrifice as proof of true love. Others, more pragmatic, urge Hope not to lose herself, reminding her that grief does not require lifelong isolation. Each opinion feels invasive, as if Hope's heart has become a public forum for moral judgment. No one can answer the question for her, yet everyone seems determined to try. What makes the possibility of a new love even more terrifying is that it does not arrive as temptation or escape. It arrives as potential. Hope begins to imagine a future version of herself, not happy in the way she once was, but functioning, connected, alive. The image feels both comforting and treacherous. She wonders whether choosing to love again would honor Liam's wishes, or betray the sanctity of what they shared. The fear is not of judgment from others, but from herself. Hope has built her identity around faithfulness, around the belief that love is enduring and singular. Allowing room for another love feels like dismantling a core truth about who she is. Liam, sensing this turmoil, becomes more insistent, not aggressive, but quietly resolute. He tells Hope that love is not a finite resource, that what they have will not vanish if she someday gives her heart to someone else. He frames his impending death not as an ending, but as a transition that should not trap her in permanent mourning. Yet even as he speaks these words, Liam struggles with his own fear of being forgotten. He wants Hope to live, but he also wants to remain real in her future, not reduced to a memory eclipsed by someone new. Their final chapter together becomes defined by this paradox. They love each other fiercely, honestly, without illusion. They also begin, painfully, to loosen their grip. Hope starts to understand that staying with Liam until the end does not preclude choosing life afterward. The two truths do not cancel each other out, but reconciling them requires a courage she has never had to summon before. This is not about replacing Liam. It is about refusing to let death dictate the boundaries of love. As Liam's condition worsens, moments of clarity grow more precious. He shares memories he never spoke aloud, regrets he carried silently, hopes he knows he will not see fulfilled. In these moments, Hope realizes something profound. Liam is not asking her to move on because he wants to be free of her love, but because he trusts it enough to survive without him. That realization reframes everything. Love, in this context, is not possession or permanence. It is release. Hope's answer does not come in the form of a decision, but a promise, to herself as much as to Liam. She promises that she will not seek love as an escape from grief, nor will she reject it out of loyalty to pain. She will allow life to meet her where it finds her, when it finds her, without shame. This promise does not diminish her devotion in the present. Instead, it deepens it. Freed from the fear that loving Liam means forfeiting the rest of her life, Hope is able to be fully present with him in his final days. In the end, the question of whether Hope should find a new love is not answered by certainty, but by compassion. For Liam, compassion means letting go without disappearing. For Hope, compassion means allowing herself a future without erasing the past. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, this storyline transcends romance and tragedy. It becomes a meditation on love's final test, not whether it can survive betrayal or obsession, but whether it can survive mortality itself. And in that test, Hope and Liam prove that love does not end when life does. It simply changes form, leaving behind a question that is no longer painful, but sacred, not whether Hope should love again, but whether love itself ever truly leaves at all.